Alright, so one of the main tools that you're going to need when you're selling cars, and forgive me if you're a dealer watching this, this is obvious, but if you're a car flipper, you need two separate OBD code readers. One, you need to have a portable code reader. This is a small, quick, easy to use with absolutely imperative that it have code descriptions. I think I have a picture of this. Yeah. Alright, so this is a little small portable one, the exact same one that I have in my backpack I take to auctions. Now when you hit read codes, it's going to tell you what the code says, just like down here. This is it. So it says P0303, the code number, how many codes, and it tells you the code meaning. This is absolutely imperative that you have this on your OBD reader, because heaven forbid that you see one engine light and you're like, oh, it's just one code. I'm sure it's not that big of a deal. And then it turns out, that's like a timing code for the engine, and you just bought a car with bad timing tensioners and chain guides. It's happened to me. Then you need to have, there's Bluetooth options available too for these. So, just like this right here, you can plug it in. You can, look at the app on your phone. Sometimes they have more detailed information too. And the pro is portable, fits in your pocket. The con, it's easy to lose. The pros on this is it's portable, but the con, these don't have the airbag, ABS codes, transmission codes, stuff like that. The next one, you need to have a bigger, better option, one that has descriptions, can read ABS and transmission codes and live data. Those are important because there will be cases where you want to find out what that ABS light is on for, or you'll catch a transmission code that you didn't even know was there, but something that could be a ticking time bomb, especially for Hondas. Hondas will throw a code that says incorrect gear ratio, and they won't be shifting poorly yet, but then a week or two later it'll start slipping and driving pretty poorly. That's something that I've noticed. So this is an example of one that I had for a while, which is, this is kind of like a bigger version of this, except it's a little more. It'll show you pending codes, so not just the live codes like here. It'll show you codes that are pending in the computer but haven't popped the engine light on yet. And this is something I always check, is pending codes, because if somebody clears the engine light and then brings it to you for like a trade-in or to sell it, or before you meet them at the gas station, well, in the time that they're driving from their house to the station, their car is going to have pending codes from those codes they cleared, because the code's probably going to come back on, so it'll show the pending. And then you can check that. You can be like, hey, look, there's some pending codes. These will probably come on in the next day or so, and it can save you a lot of headache. Now, if you really want to get fancy, if you want to get something that's really good actually, this reader right here, it will tell you ABS, airbag, transmission codes, ABS reset and bleeding procedure. Like say you replace a master cylinder on a Ford Escape. Well, the Fords, they require a mechanical bleeding procedure. And you can use this to go in and do that, including various diagnostic procedures, live data. So like while you drive, you can monitor different sensors, and then lifetime upgrade and warranty and stuff like that. Now below this video, I've linked to each one of these. For a while I used this expensive one and the small one, but now we have a full-scale Genesis, $2,000 computer scanner we use now. Now why is this important? Because to have these two OBD readers, you always want to check the vehicle, because even when the light isn't on, it might be pending or burned out. Now the one way to check if a light is burned out, I'm going to add this, is, let's see, how to check if engine light is missing. Turn the key to the on position, but don't turn the car on, don't start it. And if you don't see the engine light up, that means somebody popped it out. Because when you turn the key on to the on position, all the lights should light up. It's kind of like a little test, I guess, a self-test or whatever. So that's what you should see. If you don't see that, especially in older vehicles, a lot of times people will take apart the clusters and pop a bulb out. And that's how you know. Because if you turn the key to the on position, don't start it, you should see the engine light. Or it'll say, sometimes it'll say like service engine soon, or whatever version it is, you should see that. Now it's important for your OBD readers to show pending codes because, like I mentioned, they may not have triggered the engine light yet, but they will. And the ABS airbag codes are important because though they're not required, they can be very useful to know why the light is on, even if you're not fixing it yourself. I'll give you an example. For a lot of Hondas, they have a common issue with the seat pressure sensor going bad on the passenger side. So you might have an airbag light on, and you know, potential buyer is like, oh wow, that's not good. But you're like, hey, it's just, you know, I read the code. It's just a little pressure sensor on the passenger seat. Not a big deal. You know, it's something that could be fixed cheaply if you wanted it to. If not, no big deal. And having the diagnostic procedures can be very helpful if you're fixing it yourself, because I'll give you a real life example. On a 2010 Ford Escape, we replaced the master cylinder for the brakes. Now, when we got it all together, we manually bled every wheel, and the brake pedal was still really soft. It still went kind of to the floor. And then only then did we learn that, hey, you actually have to go through a mechanical bleeding procedure for the ABS master cylinder. What was it? No, it was the ABS control module. Okay, so this part we were replacing is the ABS control module. Now, after we hooked up the computer and we did the mechanical bleeding procedure with the computer, you know, the brake feel was back to normal. Had a good firm brake. That's just one example. There's plenty of them. You know, for a diesel, this is awesome because we had a diesel that had a bad injector and we didn't know, but we had the Genesis and it did what's called a buzz test. And it would, by pressing a button, it would trigger every injector in the engine, and you could hear it. They would buzz, you know, bzz, 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 bzz. But then what we noticed is one of the injectors, it was a very muffled buzz. So it was something like this. It went bzz, 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 bzz. And what that told us is that injector was bad because if it's a muffled sound, that means the injector is not firing properly. So that, you know, that saved us from having to take it to a diesel shop, all this other stuff. So these are the ones that, you know, I've had experience with. I know my lead mechanic, he uses this Bluetooth one. I personally have the one on the left, and I've used the one here, and I've also used the one on the right.